A young black schoolboy was waiting for his mom outside a cafe until a white woman decided he didn't belong there. Within minutes, flashing lights filled the street as cops rushed in, hands on their holsters. But just as they closed in on the terrified child, his mother arrived. And with one move, the woman's smug confidence turned into sheer panic. What she saw made her regret everything. But it was already too late. 12-year-old Malik had just finished school and was waiting outside a small cafe for his mom to pick him up. He clutched his backpack, scrolling through his phone, unaware that his very presence was making someone uncomfortable. Across the street, a middle-aged white woman narrowed her eyes. To her, Malik wasn't just a kid waiting for his mom. He was suspicious. She watched him for a moment, her grip tightening on her purse. Then, with a huff of self-righteousness, she pulled out her phone and dialed 911. Malik had no idea that within minutes, his quiet afternoon would turn into a nightmare. Malik barely noticed when the police car pulled up. Its sirens were off, but its presence was loud enough to draw attention. 2 officers stepped out, their eyes immediately locking onto him. The woman who had called them stood nearby, arms crossed, watching with satisfaction. One officer approached. "Hey kid, what are you doing here?" His voice was firm, not friendly. Malik blinked, confused. "I'm waiting for my mom," he said hesitantly, but the officers exchanged glances. That's so. The second cop took a step closer. "Someone reported suspicious activity. Said you were loitering." Loitering? Malik's heart pounded. He wasn't doing anything wrong. But he had seen enough on the news to know that didn't always matter. "Stand up!" the first officer ordered. Malik did as he was told, his hands shaking. The growing crowd of bystanders murmured, some pulling out their phones. He swallowed hard, glancing around, searching for his mom. Then the officer reached for his radio. "We might need backup." Panic surged through Malik. This was getting out of control. He tried to explain, but the officers weren't listening. The woman who had called them stood smugly behind them, as if she had done her civic duty. And then Malik heard his mother's voice, firm, commanding, unshaken. Everything changed in an instant. Malik's mother strode toward the officers with an air of authority that made them hesitate. Dressed in business casual, she looked like any other professional woman, but the fire in her eyes told another story. "Step away from my son," she commanded, her voice cold and unwavering. The officers exchanged glances, but before they could react, she reached into her purse and pulled out a leather badge holder. With a single flick, the golden FBI insignia gleamed under the afternoon sun. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The woman who had called the police took a step back, her face draining of color. "I'm Special Agent Daniels," Malik's mother continued, her voice sharp. "And I want to know exactly why my son, who was doing nothing but waiting for me, is being treated like a suspect." The first officer stammered. "Ma'am, we were just responding to a call." "A false call," she snapped, turning toward the woman who had started it all. "So tell me, why did you assume my son was a threat?" The woman opened her mouth, but no words came out. The weight of her actions crashed over her like a wave. The once smug expression was gone. Now she just looked terrified. The officers, now visibly uneasy, mumbled an apology before retreating to their squad car. The crowd murmured, some shaking their heads in disgust. The woman who had made the call stood frozen, her once arrogant confidence now replaced with shame. She had wanted Malik gone, but now she was the one who wished she could disappear. Malik's mother knelt beside him, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "You did nothing wrong," she whispered, her voice steady but filled with pain. Malik nodded, but deep down, he knew. This wouldn't be the last time someone saw his skin. Before his humanity, as they walked away, Malik couldn't shake the uneasy feeling in his chest. If his mother hadn't arrived when she did, what would have happened? How many others weren't so lucky? This wasn't just about one false call. It was about a system that allowed suspicion to be a weapon, one that too often turned deadly. So, the real question is, how many more Maliks will it take before things finally change?